time we got to this country to now, as opposed to the thousands of years, millenniums of history that we had prior to coming here. So we kind of cut ourselves short. But in that past history, what we've now called kinky, nappy hair, all these negative concepts, that was considered the hair of gods. In fact, if you look in the Bible, the only references you see to God, any kind of features, like in Daniel, and the rare references you have, his hair is compared to what? Wool. Right. But yet, that, just like they didn't want us to read when we got here, that's part of the things that was in the Bible, I feel, that was meant for us not to know. Also, it's not just our religion, but throughout history. Horus, the first of the so-called 16 crucified saviors, one of the earliest images of God we know in recorded history. Kinky afro hair, as you want to call it. They call it peppercorn hair back in the early days of history. Buddha. In fact, when Europeans first went into parts of Asia and saw the first images of Buddha, and he had the little kinky hair on his head. Now, I don't know if y'all heard this too, but they'll say that's a hat. They'll say, the wildest one, and actually this is recorded and used to be taught at the university level, was that those were snail shells. Because, the snails and animals love Buddha, so they crawled up on his head. Yeah. That's how extreme, but it's so interesting because, if you're not critical thinkers, and this is what we have to really raise our children and really think about, not just accepting everything that's told to us. So even Buddha and Jesus and even Zeus, Greeks had black gods, Romans had black gods. But if you don't, and this is another weird story. I went to a Christmas party. The place is a very conservative think tank in Washington, D.C. called the American Enterprise Institute. And this is where, I don't know if y'all remember, like the architect of constructive engagement, which was a failed system, policy. The Reagan administration came up with how to help South Africa out of apartheid and all this kind of madness of like Gene Kirkpatrick and these type of people were like in the party with me. It was this trip. But it was at this real exclusive center in D.C. In fact, there's this tour coming up of with Tony Brown that y'all should go, because I think he's going to bring this up. But what blew my mind was when I went into this event, I was the only black person other than my guest and maybe one other person, but everybody else was white. And these were people you all some of you saw on TV, some of you didn't. But the strangest thing was that where the reception was held, there was a mural on the wall of Roman and Greek gods, and they all were black. And it was bizarre. It was just so bizarre because they know what's being hidden from us. But that's why I brought these in today, because we're also in a strange situation. Most people throughout history, their gods look like them. But strangely enough, we got a God that looked like the people who were oppressing us. Now, I'm one of those people that, color in some context makes no difference. Because I always hear this, and like being raised in the church, I've been bringing this up for years, and people say, boy, that Jesus, the color of Jesus don't make no difference. And I know what they mean. The color doesn't make a difference as far as philosophy, content, or character, things of this nature. But the simple way I blow them out of the water with that, or at least getting them to rethink it, I said, okay, if color makes no difference, and some of y'all might have heard me say this before, when it came time for Martin Luther King to have a national monument, how about a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Martin Luther King as a national memorial? Ain't nobody gonna go for that. Every time I said color make no difference, let's make them blonde, blue-eyed, nobody's going for that. Because in a historical context, color makes a difference. And when you dealt with the Klan and hate groups the way I have, and you read that literature, that white image of Jesus is crucial to their philosophy. To burn the cross, to claim Christianity. And so as true Christians, I feel like we are obligated to confront this and blow it out the water. And that's why I began collecting these. And these are not easy to find. Most of these are from Old World Europe and also North Africa. This is from Russia. And like the interesting thing is, I had some Russian friends over because I had this book imported from Russia and I needed to translate it. And they were saying, yeah, we know Jesus was black. We ain't never even, not even an issue with us. They had a region in southern Russia called the Georgian region, and also an area called the Ukraine, where I got some of the other ones. This one here, actually, and this is another strange twist of history. This one's actually, I got it in Haiti, but it's from Russia. And I'll tell a story about that too. This one here is from Montserrat, Spain. Very famous black images of Jesus and the Virgin Mary, where Jesus looked kinky hair, as they say, you know, and it'll be different if we were raised without people seeing Jesus with kinky hair. You wouldn't think it'd be ugly. How could you say Jesus is ugly, or what Jesus has, or any God or biblical figures would have, you would say is ugly. This one's from Switzerland, white folks, black Jesus. This one's from Spain, Guadalupe. And the interesting thing is, and this is a little side note, this one's from Haiti. And when I got to Haiti, it was my first time, and I'm going to try to stick to the subject, but it was another little side thing that bothered me about Haiti. Many of us, I'm not sure, know the history of Haiti. Haiti's the only nation that freed themselves from slavery, rose up, defeated the conquerors, kicked them out. Now, what do you hear normally about that? And right after they tell you that, they'll say, but it's the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, so they want you to look at them, you know, think that's what happened if y'all had freed yourselves. But what you don't understand, really, that's the sub-message, in my opinion, in Africa. Wherever I've been, when I see the lighter-skinned people dominating the dark-skinned people, this is an underlying theme. That we are somehow, even though we had millennium of civilization before Europeans had it, somehow we can't govern ourselves in this type thing. And what people fail to realize is that in Haiti, once they liberated themselves, all the nations that supported slavery, United States, Great Britain, France, you name it, they all put embargoes against the Haitian people. They can't even when they had, and then we set up hostile government, dictators, Papa Doc, all these crazy fools who are killing these people off and brutalizing these people, and we wouldn't let them come to the country. Nor would we get, political asylum and things of this nature. But not only that, that's the economic side. Let me just give you another example. Because I work in the medical field, I went as part of a medical mission. And one of the things that blew my mind was that they, when AIDS first came out, they said it was 3 risk factor groups. Y'all remember what they were? Yeah. Hemophiliacs, homosexuals,
and blacks,
and Haitians. It was Haitians. Come to find out, Haitians were no more greater prevalence of AIDS than anybody in the average American population. How did I find this out? I was down there, we're working with the CDC, Center for Disease Control. They the ones that told me. They said we were all meeting, my undergrad was in entomology, studying insects. They were studying insect vectors in a disease called elephantiasis. It's a wild disease that wherever it gets in your body, it makes it huge. It's bizarre. But anyway, they were studying insect vectors. And so we got to talking about AIDS and this type of thing. They said, we put out a retraction that Haitians were not a risk factor